Imagine stepping out on a crisp Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, only to find your mailbox, a harmless hunk of metal that's never hurt a soul, smashed like it owed someone money, door flapping in the breeze, and every last letter vanished into thin air. But here's the kicker. This wasn't some punk kid's prank. It was a calculated strike from the self-appointed overlords of suburbia, the HOA board, who'd decided my light beige house paint was a crime against their precious community standards. And me? I'm Alex Rivera, a quiet graphic designer who's lived in this cookie-cutter cul-de-sac in suburban Atlanta for 8 years, paying my dues on time, recycling like a champ, but somehow becoming the neighborhood's whispered villain because rumors spread that I was running an illegal home business. Total bull. Just me freelancing from my garage office. The whispers started small, like weeds creeping through perfectly manicured lawns. Neighbors I'd waved to for years suddenly averted their eyes at the mailbox cluster, murmuring about how my late-night lights meant I was up to no good. It was all sparked by Karen Whitaker. Oh, excuse me, President Karen Whitaker of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. A woman in her mid-50s with a perpetual lemon-sucking scowl, pearl earrings that screamed, "I'm better than you," and a voice that could curdle milk under the guise of politeness. She'd patrol the streets in her pristine white SUV, vanity plate reading Order 1, clipboard at the ready, finding folks for grass blades an inch too tall or holiday lights left up a day past deadline. "It's for the greater good," she'd coo at meetings, her smile as fake as her highlights. But behind closed doors, she ruled like a mini-dictator, twisting bylaws to suit her whims, all while preaching about maintaining property values, as if her word was gospel. I ignored it at first. Let them talk. I had deadlines to meet. But that morning, staring at my mangled mailbox, something clicked. The lock was jimmied clean off, post tilted like a drunken sailor, and not a single piece of mail inside, not even the junk flyers. I knelt down, heart pounding, and spotted a fresh footprint in the mulch. Size 9 men's shoe. Not mine. No other boxes on the block were touched. Just mine, singled out like a scarlet letter. I snapped photos on my phone, every angle, because if years in design taught me anything, it's that details matter. Then I called the post office, voice steady despite the rage bubbling under. "Ma'am, my mailbox has been vandalized. Can you check if anything was delivered today?" The operator paused. He's clacking. "Sir, according to our system, you filed a mail forwarding request yesterday. Change of address to some P.O. Box downtown. We unlocked it for the transition." My blood ran cold. "What? I didn't file anything. I live here. This is my home." She hummed sympathetically. "Well, the form was signed and processed. You'll need to speak to an inspector for disputes." Signed? Processed? This wasn't incompetence. This was sabotage. And I knew exactly who held the puppet strings. Karen had been hounding me for months about my non-compliant paint shade beige instead of the approved taupe, a difference so minuscule you'd need a color wheel and a grudge to notice. She'd slapped me with a $100 fine last month, claiming it disrupted the aesthetic harmony. Harmony? My ass. It was her way of flexing, especially after I politely questioned a dues hike at the last meeting. I didn't storm over right away. No, I brewed another coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and plotted. Patience is a weapon, especially against tyrants who think they're untouchable. By noon, I'd filed an online report with the USPS Postal Inspection Service, attaching my photos and a calm narrative, suspected tampering and forgery. Then I drove to the HOA office, a squat building tucked behind the community pool, where Karen held court like a queen on her throne. Her car was there, gleaming under the sun, bumper sticker proclaiming rules make us strong. I walked in, the bell jingling like a warning. Karen glanced up from her desk, her pink manicured nails tapping on a tablet. Mr. Rivera, what a surprise. Here to pay that overdue fine. Her tone was honeyed venom, eyes narrowing behind those cat-eye glasses. I leaned on the counter, casual as could be. Actually, Karen, I'm here about my mailbox. Looks like someone took a crowbar to it last night. Funny how it's the only one hit. And get this, the post office says my mail's been forwarded. Without my say-so, she didn't flinch, but her grip tightened on the stylus. That's unfortunate. Perhaps if your property was up to code, these incidents wouldn't occur. Vandalism is a community issue, not an HOA one. I smiled, thin and sharp. Oh, but rerouting mail? That's federal, Karen. A felony, actually. And I bet if I dig, I'll find your fingerprints all over that form. Her lips pursed. Accusations without proof are just noise, Mr. Rivera. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have standards to uphold. She waved me off like a fly, but I saw the twitch in her eye, the first crack in her facade. Back home, I didn't rant or rave. I installed a new app on my phone to monitor my security cams. Ones I'd set up discreetly after the rumors started, hidden in the eaves and garden lights. Then I waited. 2 days later, an envelope from the USPS arrived at my door. Irony, right? They hand-delivered it. Inside, a copy of the forwarding form. And there, in bold sharpest scrawl, approved by K. Whitaker on behalf of HOA Compliance Enforcement. She hadn't even forged my signature properly. It was a lazy scribble that looked nothing like mine. I chuckled, dark and low, imagining her smug face as she signed it, thinking no one would check. Oh, Karen, I muttered to myself, you just handed me the rope. I scanned it, emailed it to the postal inspector assigned to my case. A no-nonsense guy named Ramirez who showed up the next day in a plain sedan, badge flashing. This is textbook mail fraud, Mr. Rivera, he said, examining the form under my porch light. Interfering with federal mail carries heavy penalties. We'll trace it back. I nodded, handing him a USB with my cam footage from the night of the break-in. It showed a shadowy figure, stocky, in a hoodie, pacing by the mailbox, glancing around, then yanking at the lock. The face was obscured, but the walk, unmistakable. It was Todd Harlan, Karen's right-hand man on the board, the HOA's enforcement officer, who doubled as her errand boy. His truck's license plate glinted in the frame. Ramirez's eyes lit up. This ties it together. Good work keeping records. As Ramirez left, I felt the shift, the quiet observer turning hunter. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no. She doubled down like a bad poker player. That evening, as the sun dipped, I spotted Todd's truck idling across the street, engine humming, him inside pretending to text. Subtle as a brick. I waved cheerily from my window, and he sped off, tires squealing. The next morning, a certified letter arrived, notice of violation, unauthorized surveillance equipment. Remove all cameras within 48 hours or face $500 daily fines. Signed, of course, by President Whitaker. I laughed outright, the sound echoing in my empty kitchen. Unauthorized? On my own damn property. It was peak HOA absurdity, punishing me for catching their crimes. I forwarded the notice to Ramirez, who called back within the hour. This smells like retaliation. We're escalating. Meanwhile, I dug deeper. A quick trip to the county clerk's office yielded a goldmine. HOA meeting minutes, bylaws, and financial reports, all public record. The clerk, a grizzled vet named Ethel with a knowing smirk, slid me a stack. You're not the first to ask, hon. That Whitaker woman's got more enemies than friends. Back home, poring over the docks by lamplight, patterns emerged like mold in a damp basement. Budget discrepancies, $20,000 miscellaneous maintenance with no receipts. Missing votes on key decisions. And buried in the appendices, a compliance protocol memo outlining tactics to encourage non-conforming residents to relocate, including disruption of essential services if fines prove insufficient. Mail diversion was listed as a low-risk option. My jaw clenched, but a grin crept in. Low risk? Huh? Not anymore. I reached out to an old college buddy, Lena Kim, now a prosecutor in the DA's office. We met at a dingy diner off the interstate, away from prying eyes. I spread the evidence on the Formica table, the forged form, cam stills, financial red flags. Lena whistled low. Alex, this isn't just petty tyranny. It's racketeering. If they've been siphoning dues and tampering with mail, we can nail them on multiple counts. She leaned in, eyes fierce. But brace yourself, they'll fight dirty. She was right. That night, my internet flickered out for hours. Router reset to factory settings. Just my house. Neighbors streamed Netflix fine. I reported it to the ISP, who confirmed remote tampering. Then came the whispers amplified. Anonymous posts on the neighborhood Facebook group claiming I was harassing board members and a threat to family values. Karen's handiwork, no doubt, her digital clipboard swinging. But I stayed cool, documenting every glitch, every slur. Word spread quietly. Neighbors who'd been fined for ridiculous things like excessive bird feeders or unapproved flower colors started knocking. First, old Mr. Jenkins from down the block, his voice quavering. They fined me $300 for my tomato plants. Said they were unsightly, but it's my garden. Then Sarah and Mike, the young couple next door, we got a lean threat because our fence was 2 inches too short. 2 inches. I listened, noted, and shared snippets of my evidence. It's not just us, I said softly. It's a system. We formed a whisper network, meeting in backyards under stars, swapping stories that turned from venting to strategy. Tensions simmered like a pot about to boil. Karen called an emergency HOA meeting at the community center, her voice over the loudspeaker dripping with faux concern. Fellow residents, we must address rising disruptions to our harmony. I showed up, evidence folder tucked under my arm, a few allies in tow. The room was packed, air thick with unease. Karen stood at the podium, pearls gleaming, flanked by Todd and the treasurer, Barry Klein, a weaselly accountant with shifty eyes. As you know, she began, certain individuals have been spreading falsehoods, undermining our efforts to keep Willow Creek pristine. Her gaze locked on me. Mr. Rivera, care to explain your baseless accusations? I stood, voice even. Baseless? Like this forged mail form with your signature. Gasps rippled. I held it up. Or the footage of Todd here vandalizing my property? Todd shifted, face reddening. Karen banged her gavel. Yes, she had a gavel. This is out of order. Security, escort him out. But no security came. The security was Todd, who froze. Neighbors murmured. Phones out, recording. Prove it, Karen snapped, echoing her earlier taunt. So I did. I projected the docs on the wall via my phone. Discrepancies, memos, all of it. You've been stealing our dues, Karen. Funneling to fake vendors. And when we question, you sabotage. The room erupted in questions. Is that true? What about my fines? Karen's composure cracked, her voice rising. This is for the community, without rules. We'd be chaos. But her words rang hollow, laced with desperation. The meeting devolved into chaos, but it lit the fuse. Overnight, petitions circulated demanding an audit, board suspension. We hit 60% signatures by dawn. Per bylaws. Karen retaliated wildly. My power cut midnight. Breakers flipped externally. A violation notice for my disruptive behavior. Even a fake noise complaint to the cops, who showed up puzzled. Sir, someone reported screaming. Everything okay? I showed them the evidence packet. Better question for the HOA president. The officer's eyes widened. We'll look into it. Ramirez and Lena coordinated. Subpoenas flying. Turns out, Barry had cooked books for years. $75. 000 vanished into shell companies tied to Karen's nephew. Neighbors' stories poured in. A disabled vet fined for his service dog, violating pet policies. A single mom leaned for unpaid special assessments that never existed. We held a garage summit at my place. 28 households crammed in. Folding chairs creaking. I dimmed the lights, projected the full dossier. This isn't about paint or mailboxes, I said. It's about them treating us like serfs. Murmurs turned to roars. Enough! We filed the petition en masse at City Hall. Media tipping off, local news vans rolling up. The climax hit like a storm. At the oversight hearing downtown, Karen arrived primped, lawyer in tow, expecting to charm her way out. But Ramirez was there, warrant in hand. Ms. Whitaker, we're seizing all HOA records for federal investigation. Mail fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Her face paled, clipboard clattering. Todd bolted for the door. Barry stammered excuses. This is outrageous, Karen shrieked. I'm upholding standards. The judge, unmoved. Standards don't include felonies. Cuffs clicked. Karen, Todd. Barry let out. Her pearls askew. Dignity shredded. Neighbors watched from the gallery, a silent wave of vindication washing over. In the aftermath, the board dissolved. A receiver appointed, a tough ex-judge named Carla Ruiz who slashed nonsense rules overnight. Fines refunded, liens lifted, dues audited. The neighborhood breathed again. Gardens bloomed unchecked, doors painted wild hues, potlucks without agendas. I rebuilt my mailbox, fortified steel, like a fortress symbol of resilience. Karen got 4 years federal, Todd 3, Barry plea bargained to 2 with testimony. Restitution checks arrived, small victories stacking. The air lightened, kids played freely, neighbors chatted without fear. We elected a new board, real folks, not tyrants, focused on community, not control. But here's the question that lingers. Folks, In a world where rules mask power grabs, was Karen the villain, or just the symptom of a system that lets petty despots thrive? True or false, sometimes the real crime is staying silent,